I'll admit that going into this movie 35 years after it was released, I wasn't expecting it to be that scary for me, and it wasn't, but that's not really the problem I have with it. I mean, I saw the Yahoo article made a few months ago, or whenever it was, talking about how college kids, watched the movie and most of them weren't very scared at all. That wasn't really what my issue was at all. It just sort of, like the structure of the movie just sort of, I don't know, the beginning first hour of the movie, the movie itself is very short. It's only about an hour and a half long. And Michael Myers, the main antagonist, doesn't kill anyone until an hour into the movie. Now, the movie starts off well enough, but the thing here that doesn't make it scary, I think, even for the time, is the fact that it's the cinematography, or the shot is coming from a first-person perspective. At least when Michael Myers, during the flashback sequence when he's a kid, and he kills his older sister, it just doesn't come across, as scary or at all when you know exactly what the antagonist is doing. I think horror movies should thrive on the audience and also whoever is about to get killed or the protagonist not knowing where the guy is hiding, and the whole jumping out and scaring thing is what this genre relies on, and filming the opening sequence like that just doesn't make it quite as interesting. But in addition to that, though, it's just the fact that I think Michael Myers didn't really do anything throughout most of the movie. He just sort of stalked that girl. It's fine to have suspense up to a certain point. Like, obviously you want to build up suspense. But there becomes a certain point where there's too much sort of suspense or, pre-expository stuff before any action happens, that it comes across as sort of boring or, mundane to the point where, let's have something actually happen here. Because, let's admit it, for the most part, to me, it doesn't seem like Michael actually does anything for most of the movie. And that doesn't make it scary or exciting or anything, really. And that was sort of a problem. That was just my main problem with it. It's just there's a lack of action. It's inaction on Michael Myers' behalf for most of the movie that caused me to lose interest in it. Now, in addition to this, I had a problem with the sequence in the movie during the part where there's some sort of breakout in the mental facility that he was held in, when he escapes. The film itself doesn't really give the audience an explanation as to how this breakout happened, but more importantly than that, the man who decides to almost kill whatever her name is in the car, it doesn't really give us any indication that that's actually Michael Myers. There's no really distinctive qualities to him in that scene that makes us differentiate him from any of the other nutcases running around. So I didn't really particularly care for that sequence. I thought it was very poorly executed. But more importantly than that, I felt the function of the doctor, you could say, Michael Myers' therapist, you can call him, or whatever, one of the people who was in the facility. Basically, he just has a lack of action as well throughout the course of the movie. I mean, what he does is, when he confronts the police officers, I vividly recall he mentioned something about, oh, don't call in backup or whatever, just keep your mouth shut and your eyes open. What? So, his character comes off as so condescending here when he, emphasizes that Michael's so dangerous and whatever, and he's talking about how for 8 years he tried to connect with him, and then he's talking about for another 7 years he tried to convince the judges or whatever to keep Michael in the facility. But now, I guess apparently he's still not dangerous enough to warrant backup or whatever, and he just says, oh, keep your mouth shut and your eyes open? That's the best you got? Seriously? I mean, he just doesn't seem to, it's just so condescending. He says one thing, and then his next statement there is completely opposite. But worse than that, he spends the vast majority of the movie at Michael Myers' former house, and he just decides to camp out in hopes that Michael Myers will come back. And it isn't until, the last 10 minutes of the movie does he realize that Michael's car is parked right across the street. So, what does he do for this entire movie? He just, in essence, absolutely nothing until the very end where he saves whatever her name, the main protagonist in the house. It just sort of represents what I hate about bad aspects of movies, and this is sort of a certain thing, is just characters who don't take action and through their inaction don't serve to advance the plot or story hardly at all. and thus their addition to the story, as in the case of this doctor, is almost entirely irrelevant until the very end of the movie. But yet he's featured like so prominently and so frequently throughout the course of the movie that it just becomes detracting from the overall experience. But also, my other final complaint is just the acting itself isn't all that great. Like the dialogue's weak. Among what's the girlfriend's, the main protagonist's girlfriend, the first woman who gets killed off, is so dumb that it just comes out across as so unbelievable. Like, Michael Myers is standing outside of the door, right, this glass door, and he drops one of those, the plant holders, or what, I can't remember exactly what it was. It had, like, the glass or something, I can't remember. He drops something outside the window, and the woman still doesn't turn around, and apparently she made a quote-unquote mess of herself with some peanut butter, even though we don't see anything, so she takes almost all of her clothes off and goes outside into her garage in the middle of the night, like in her underwear. And not only that, but she hears the dog barking, and then like right in front of Michael Myers, who ends up killing it by, I don't know, crushing its neck or something. It's off camera, I believe. And the girl's just like, "Oh, great! I'm glad the damn dog shut up." Seriously, God, it just like it just seems like the woman's gonna end up killing herself when she's about to, when he locks her in the garage, which is nonsensical because the garage doors don't lock from the outside like that. And second of all, the woman tries to go out the window where there's a shelf blocking it, but instead of just trying to move the portable shelf out of the way, she tries to push the window across it and like squeeze her way through. I mean, Michael doesn't exactly have his work cut out for him there, if you know what I mean. So, I don't know. And also, what's dumb is the fact that Michael kills her in the car and has the horn of the car blowing for like 30 seconds at least, or 20 seconds, and then he goes and carries her to the front lawn where almost everyone in the entire neighborhood could practically see him, and just parading around the fact that he murdered her. It just doesn't seem very, intelligent of him. And yes, I understand he's a psychopath, but he's clearly smart enough to know when to strike precisely, as if he's a predator. Like, he should be smart enough to not, so openly display the fact that he killed someone like that. I mean, the only other step is that there would be for that is just to, like, have a microphone and just, like, shout out to everyone in the neighborhood that he just killed someone. It just doesn't come across as stealthy at all. It doesn't come across as menacing. It just felt, contrived and nonsensical. But overall, the movie was just sort of a disappointment. I mean, it's not a terrible movie or anything like that, but I just was not impressed by Halloween at all. If you want a good fright movie, this movie is not it.